Hello, thank you for your interest in ConnextCMS. This video is going to give a brief overview of ConnextCMS and how it compares to KeystoneJS and WordPress. So first of all, ConnextCMS is built on top of KeystoneJS. So it's not really a competitor, it's more of a wrapper or an extension. ConnextCMS is a client-side JavaScript CMS for JavaScript developers, as opposed to KeystoneJS, which runs more on the server. And I'll explain a little bit about that, more about that in a minute. First of all, just so we're all on the same page, what is a CMS? CMS stands for Content Management System, and in its simplest definition, usually it has a front end which is visible by the website visitor, and it has a back end which is used to manage the site and requires a login and password. So this front end and back end are essentially what separate the user experience in a CMS. Let me show you ConnextCMS real quick, and then we can talk about how it compares and contrasts to WordPress and KeystoneJS. So this is the demo site. So what we're looking at right here is the front end. Now, like KeystoneJS, it's important to remember that the front end is just a collection of files, so it can be whatever you want it to be. It can look however you want it to look. There's no opinionation on the front end, with the exception of this top menu button. This is automatic. This menu in ConnextCMS is automatically generated. Keystone does something very similar, although I don't believe they have drop downs. These are the original Keystone links that appear in their demo. And then I'll show you how this section and these pages are auto-generated. This is the dashboard, the ConnextCMS dashboard. It's very similar to WordPress in terms of its menu system on the left here. The navigation is almost identical. This is also using the admin LTE template, control panel template. So let me show you that, just so you can see the dashboard's pretty much identical. So this dashboard is just using canned data, and it's just showing some of the possibilities that you could achieve with the dashboard when you customize it. There's posts, categories. If you've ever done anything in WordPress or KeystoneJS, you'll be familiar with this. The interface is the same as pages, and KeystoneJS does not have pages. This is a new creation, but it does mimic the interface used in WordPress. So pages are split into sections, and then each page is assigned a section here in this column, and that automatically translates into your navigation up here. So for instance, let me show you some of the features that are built in here. In page 1, you can see examples of the placement of the images. This is a plugin in the tiny MCE WYSIWYG editor that lets you place your images, very similar to the interface used in WordPress. Let me show you that. So here's what it looks like in the WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. And this is the plugin right there that lets you browse the image gallery. Now, these images are locally hosted on the server as opposed to using Cloudinary, and they're automatically resized when you upload them, so you get a 300 pixel, 600 pixel, and 1200 pixel version if the original is bigger than that. So in this case, the original was bigger than 300 pixels but smaller than 600 pixels, so that's why there's only two options here. And then you can select your alignment, do an alt tag, and give it a caption. There is also another plugin that lets you attach a file, and so you just select which file you want, and again, these files are locally hosted, and it will create a link just like that with a download attribute, so that when the user clicks on them, it just automatically downloads. So let me show you the interface for that. That's under the Media tab, and you can browse your image library, and you can also see the different resized versions of the image. So these images use the Cayman.js library and get automatically resized when you upload them. And then of course you can delete them and update information on them, alt texts, stuff like that. Here's the interface for adding a new image. Let's just do that right now. And there it is in the image library. It was smaller than 300 pixels, so it didn't need to be resized. And this is totally arbitrary. If you're a JavaScript developer, you can change all of this. All the code is available with comments. So here's the file library. You can delete each file, upload new files. So that's basically the gist of ConnextCMS. There will also be a contextual help. It's not in place yet, but will be soon. Right now, this software is being released in an open alpha. We want people to test it, but with the understanding that it is buggy and it's rough. It's very far from version 1, but Skagit Connext has agreed to release this software, and we want to make the best software out there that is reliable and available for everybody on the internet to use and rely upon. So if you are a front-end JavaScript developer, hopefully this is intriguing to you and you will help us out. Let me go back to the PowerPoint slide and talk a little bit more about the differences between ConnextCMS and WordPress and KeystoneJS. So we talked about the front end and the back end. Hopefully that's pretty clear. The back end, you log in and that's how you manage the site. The front end is what the end user sees. But we also need to talk about the concept of client-side versus server-side. And in this case, these words get used interchangeably a lot, and that's not really the case here. When you're talking about client-side versus server-side, you're talking about something different than just the front end or the back end. The client side is what happens in the browser. That's if there's JavaScript in the client side, then it's run in the browser. Server side is what happens on the server. So if there's JavaScript running, say in Node, that's happening in the server, and it's different than in the browser. So it's important to be clear on those topics. So WordPress is great, very popular. I'm assuming anybody watching this video has used it before. It's got a very intuitive interface. The themes are awesome. The plugins are awesome. That's really what makes WordPress an amazing piece of software that people use all over the internet. If you are a front-end JavaScript developer, there are some cons. It does not play well with JavaScript. And also the software is written in PHP and it's built on top of MySQL, both of which don't help you as a JavaScript developer. Now, KeystoneJS is an amazing piece of software. It's, as far as I can tell, the most popular native JavaScript CMS out there in open source land. And it has a lot of pros. It runs in Node, so it's fast. And it's written in JavaScript, and it uses the Express framework, and it also is built on top of MongoDB, which is a very JavaScript-centric database. They have a great interface for models and database abstraction. If you are not familiar with Keystone's way of creating models, you should definitely read through their documentation at keystonejs.com. It makes it very easy to create models such as image uploads and file uploads and different types of posts and different types of users and different types of data that you need to move around the CMS. They also have a very easy to use interface once you understand how to interface to it. It's essentially what ConnextCMS is it's just KeystoneJS with several API interfaces opened up so that the front end can talk to it through AJAX calls. There are a few cons, except they're not really cons. They're really just design decisions. KeystoneJS had made the decision to stick with the server side, and they really like to do server-side rendering of all HTML. They've made the decision to move forward with React.js, similar to what Facebook is doing. So there's all good reasons for those design decisions, but it means that you need to have expertise in debugging and development on the server side, and not everybody does. I think that the universe of front-end JavaScript developers is much larger than the universe of server-side JavaScript developers, and hopefully most people will straddle both sides of the fence. But if you got to start somewhere, I think most people start with front side. And then they are also very cloud service dependent. They use Cloudinary for image hosting. They use Mandrill for email services. This is great because it also lets you easily tap into cloud services like Amazon's cloud and Microsoft Azure, and there's lots of hooks for different cloud services there. So it's both good and bad, but what you want is to host everything on your own server, it doesn't come that way out of the box, whereas ConnextCMS does. So really what ConnextCMS is trying to do is attempt to combine the best features of WordPress and KeystoneJS, and it's very front-end JavaScript centric, as I've said before. So the main features in ConnextCMS is it has local file and image hosting, automatic image resizing when you upload images, local email routing. I haven't talked about this. It will have Node Mailer, which allows you to, it runs as a service. It's a JavaScript program that runs in Node, and it runs on a port, and you make AJAX calls to it to talk with it, and you hook it up to any kind of email server you want, but it's really easy to hook it up with Gmail if you're sending small volume emails. So that's what will control the email routing in ConnextCMS. Because it's all front end, you can debug it and develop it in the browser. You can, I actually did not show that feature. If you go to page 3 in the demo, you can see this is JavaScript that is just running on the page. And if you go to that page in the back end, a little bug there. If you go to the back end, you can open up the source code, and you can see that it's just a pretty vanilla HTML file. You got your HTML up here, and you got your JavaScript with jQuery down here that manipulates the DOM. And so you just dump that right into your editor here, or more accurately, you dump that in here, and you get the same thing on the outside. Plus, the entire CMS, everything you see here, is also running front-end JavaScript, so you can open up your developer tools and go through all the different source files that you want to look at, and you can manipulate anything you need to on the front end in the browser. And then, of course, all of the data is getting moved to the server, which is running on Node, which is also JavaScript. So that's what I mean when I say that it's all JavaScript. It's all native JavaScript. So it's homogeneous. There's JavaScript. It's running on the browser and the server. JavaScript is the only programming language happening here. So it makes it really easy to keep track of what's going on. The front, or ConnextCMS, is written in backbone.js. It's similar. It's a framework similar to Angular or Ember. It's pretty much across the board accepted as the most unopinionated framework. It's very easy to pick up. There is a link on the front page of ConnextCMS.com to an open source book, a very good open source book to learn how to program with Backbone.js. It also covers Require.js, so there's a lot of free resources out there for learning it. Most people can pick this framework up in a day. The code is also modularized with Require.js. Require.js does a lot of great behind-the-scenes things, but the main feature that it does is it allows the code to be modularized. So just like I was showing you, instead of having all the code in one giant file or a few giant files, all of the files are split up into very specific aspects of the program. And so this is generally a good practice and a common failure with JavaScript, but thanks to require.js, that's no longer an issue. So those are the main features of ConnextCMS. I hope you clone a copy of it, of the droplet, and try it out. Feel free to play around with the demo and make all the changes to it you want. It's reset every 24 hours. And the droplet is backed up as an image that just gets restored, so don't feel bad about breaking it. It'll come back in a day. All right, thank you for your interest, and I hope you have fun with it.